Motion.
Is that better?
Second.
Everybody?
One motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is to meet with, I don't know, county engineer.
Good morning, supervisors. I don't remember if I emailed you guys on Thursday after Colleen called me to bail out on.
So what's the timetable and will it be done by harvest? Because it needs to be
Well,
done
I
by
don't know, it
harvest.
depends when's harvest.
See a ball.
Yeah.
That works, Susie?
I'm leaning on them and reminding them that they are getting charged working days starting this morning. So we're doing what we can. From that end, they will be getting started on the grading so that once they do get the cement stabilization done, because Manats is the holdup on this, they're the stabilizing subcontractor and they got tied up somewhere else or somebody else waved a bunch of money under their nose. I'm not sure which, but we were taking a back seat on that project, not the ideal outcome, but we'll get through it and it won't take them long once they get here. So I hope that we are done by harvest.
Can I ask how much a day we're charging them?
$1,000.
What's the deadline to have it done by?
They have 20 work days, so basically a month.
So basically by the end of August.
That is our,
Excellent.
yes.
Yeah.
We're also this week working on the patch on Salina Road where we replaced the culvert. The deep
Okay,
culvert
down
under
to
it.
that corner.
Yeah, it's had plenty of time to settle, so we're going to get in there and probably get half of it cored out today, put back in tomorrow, the other half cored out Wednesday, put back in Thursday, so we'll be back open for the weekend. Other than that, we're just doing some grading and mowing.
I had a gentleman ask me. While I was down in Dallas at the lunchbox, I wanted to know, and I knew it wasn't in this construction season and I didn't have the 5-year plan in front of me. Are we going to do anything on Durandale or north of Vetch?
That
Yes.
is,
Yes.
we've got a grant through the RPA for 2026 or 7, I think. It's kind of far out there, but it's a big enough project. Like most of our stuff, we have to let the piggy bank fill up before we go spend it. So we hope to get that completely patched. Basically, we're going to do the same kind of procedure we did on 32nd Street South, H33, where we patch it, we put the stone interlayer and then the asphalt surface over it.
Do you know when they're going to start working on the river crossings east of town? Because
No, I do
West
not.
is really bad. Like it gets every 3 months, it's going into that cycle. So you might want to have that.
And just to be clear on that, we are going to do half of one crossing.
It's fine.
We're going to do Quince northbound or north or south set of tracks.
I would do the south ones because those seem to be the ones that get.
That's you guys voted for.
Do the
20.
one that needs it the most.
I think we all have gotten emails about some electrical line that may go through at some point. So that gentleman has called me and then I already, because we never received things in the mail because it's going close to us. I think they're trying to follow the existing, there's already this part, and the way he explained it to me is that it's gonna be like an infrastructure highway, and they're gonna like probably double the power. If they can use, they don't know that they'll use the existing where it's at. However, they'll try to. He said realistically, it'll be at least an 8 or 10 year project, so it's nothing that's gonna happen immediately, it's just they have to go through all these notifications, so I have some copies.
They thought that we were going to have an informational meeting this fall
In
sometime.
August, I think it is, isn't it like the 16th?
Somehow or another, we're on leave.
Maybe we
I don't
could
know,
talk
it's
about
not
this
really-
later. I think it's on the agenda.
Okay.
Moving on. Discuss and consider signage for Pleasant Plain.
I think we took care of that when we
Yeah, I
issued
thought we did
their
too.
permit for work in the right of way. So
Correct, correct.
I met with Dick Thorne
Yeah.
and we outlined where they want to put it. It's on the county right of way property, but it's up above the back slope of the ditch on kind of that tail end of our property where the county shed sits up there. Then we also have one resident up in the Packwood area, Melvin Mullen, who's interested in demoing our shed that we didn't get any bids on. So Billy's going to see if we can't get that done for free, or at least a small charge, to see what we can work out with him, and I'll keep you posted.
You're gonna put a deadline on removing that shed.
Well, if he doesn't do it, we have to, so I can afford to be somewhat lenient on him if he's gonna wait, if he needs to wait till winter to do it, that it doesn't affect us, our operations. I don't know if just the requirements for bidding scared people off the price set or what. I'll let you know when we find out.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else you want to tell us today?
I will be gone the rest of today, tomorrow, and Wednesday at the Transportation Research Bureau's Low Volume Roads Seminar. And the nice thing is, this is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, so I don't need a hotel or mileage.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you.
Could you ask him?
Hotels to Cedar Rapids.
He lives.
It's a shorter drive than getting to work.
The next item on, I'm going to skip over the next item on the agenda. I'm just going to go to the discuss and consider the resolution for hiring Mindy Henshaw as a correctional officer in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, because we need to get back to work.
Yes, we do.
How are you,
I'd like to introduce Mindy Hanshaw, recent hire correctional officer. So I told her she would have to give her background and get her a little bit.
No
So I'll let
problem.
her talk.
Mindy, come on up here.
Okay, sure.
It's not a hot seat.
So, good morning, everybody. I'm from the big city Pleasant Plain.
I know where that's at.
Thank you guys so much for the sign. That'll be pretty nice. So,
Yeah, I think it's good. Enough about us. What about you?
thank you. Okay. So, yeah, living in Pleasant Plain, lived there for several years, probably 15 or so.
Have you really?
Yeah. So,
No.
Oh, okay. We're all good.
yeah, Pleasant Plain, and I'm
It's
married.
easy to get lost up there.
Yes, I always get confused whether they call it new or old.
Yeah.
East Pleasant Plain to Pleasant Plain, I'm like, I can't remember. And they're like, do you know why they're separated? And I said, the railroad track, yeah, went through there. So took care of a little lady that used to run the grocery store in East Pleasant Plain years ago.
Oh,
Heck, yeah, Maxine, she was a neat lady. So she taught me a little bit of history about
I'm sure she did.
how things looked. Yeah. Yeah, married. I have 2 children. I have a 15-year-old teenager, Ava. And
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, thank you. I have a 2-year-old son, Rowdy. His name is Rowdy. He is a type 1 diabetic. So recently diagnosed in October. So yeah, we're learning that. Still the teenagers, harder to care for than the 2-year-old.
Oh, better to know sooner than later.
Yeah. So my husband stays well with my son when I'm working, and he does a really great job caring for his diabetes and stuff. Yeah.
I told my youngest son, his boy is not quite 2, will be 2 in September. And we were talking about the terrible twos. They go, yeah, and they last till they're about 20.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he's a very calm-natured boy, but I could definitely tell that going in the 2-year stage, it was like he started being a little bit more wild,
Yeah.
which is good. I'm happy to see him energetic. So,
So I'm going to read this resolution. Resolutions hiring correctional officer in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Whereas the Iowa Code Section 331.903 states that the number of deputies, assistants, and clerks for each office shall be determined by the board, and the number of and approval of each appointment shall be adopted by a resolution recorded in the minutes of the board. And whereas Jefferson County desires to hire correctional officers. Therefore, be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors that the Jefferson County Sheriff is authorized to hire correctional officer Mindy Henshaw. Be it also resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Jefferson County, Iowa, that Mindy Henshaw is hired as a correctional officer in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office at starting salary of $42,301.76 annually. All those in favor?
Hi,
Make a motion first.
Mindy, can I ask you a question? Are you any relation to Greg?
Great.
No, she is not.
Maybe distant
Maybe.
cousin
Okay.
or something. Yeah.
Anyway, do I have a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor?
I'm sure I said that. I said,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you all
I'm
for
not
everything
sure
you do.
that.
And Mindy, for the record, only short people have the trouble finding a way around Pleasant Park.
Really?
Yeah.
Connor, do you have trouble finding your way around Pleasant Plain?
A little bit,
Okay, see, there we go.
Yeah, that happens.
See you, Bart.
Well, look who we're talking. Now, right,
Yes.
ambulance director report. And I'm sorry I bumped her ahead of you, but
She's better looking than you are anyway, so.
Appreciate that. I would hope so. Good morning.
Either or there.
So how's your new office?
A little cramped, but workable.
you've got a good, nice chair.
See, pretty nice.
Right? I asked Santa Claus for one and he was nice to buy me one. Currently, the elves are making a duplicate as we speak.
You will probably have to return it to its owner when you leave the building.
Understood, understood.
It's leaves.
You know what? There's some down in the basement of the Maple building.
But I think we're okay. We
As
took
long as
this
we're
one and
okay.
This was a lot closer and it was
Sure.
willable.
And there's an
to-
elevator.
Well, yes, and mine,
Just if you need any others. there might be some
mine
there.
gave out, it became a.
And I know
rocking chair.
exactly what she said. She said because he's so short, he doesn't need one with such a high
Well, we can't see you from behind.
back.
give me five.
Yes.
Okay, you too.
Well,
I'm gonna refer you to the county attorney, okay?
been
I
working
know that.
with the billing company. We had a Zoom meeting with like 10 other people from around the country with getting them on board. We have steps, if you will. Every 3 days, they send out questionnaires about the service. What we're looking at, billing, transportation agreements and things like that in place. Some of the questions obviously can't be answered as of yet because they're not in place, but we can address that. But the whole point of this being, and let me back up a little bit. We got an okay from Jacob Dodge to go ahead and apply for get the billing company going. We're using our temporary license number through the state to get this going. And this is, it takes 45 to 60 days in order for the billing company to get up and going. That's with Medicare, Medicaid, private insurances as well. That will enable us to start billing on 1 October.
That's great.
And so this in turn, we get the revenue coming in sooner. So he has approved that for us. And also with Image Trend, Image Trend is a state. The state of Iowa uses Image Trend in general. They use it for recording purposes and they use it to track patients and time on scene and things like that. Now, not everybody uses Image Trend, but going through the state of Iowa, they offer it as a free standalone PCR or a patient care report, if you will, electronic. We have, in our meeting with Image Trend, we had got additional caveats, if you will, that are that cost a little bit, but this will enable us to track patient care as well as patients, and it gives you an overview of what's going on. So working on that currently, working with A and B billing on a daily basis. We're working with Jack currently to go through our policies and procedures, and this is so we don't duplicate stuff that's already in the handbook. And so working with him has been enlightening. But it's also a learning experience on both parts because this has never been a service, as you know. So the Apex grant with Jared, we have an approval for that. I will get him with him this week. The amount, we don't know quite yet, but we are one of the only ones who applied for it and got approved. So, and this is a quarterly grant, and we can apply for it as much as we can. So I just reapplied for the quarterly grant last week again. So
what's that through? You said
it's through Apex, and Jared is he's the gentleman that I met here earlier, I believe last month.
Okay.
And
Oh,
yes, ma'am. So that's a quarterly grant that we can apply for as much as we want to, which is good. We're working on the pharmacy agreement. It's continuous. I would say that's always in flux. You know, we're still negotiating because meeting with Stacy and Katie, they do not. They haven't done this before either for a long time, and so it's a give and take on what they will do, what we will do, and we're just kind of trying to meet in the middle. We met with the medical director on Saturday at 1 o'clock, and we're finalizing the protocols and the medications based upon the fact of what's available and what's not. As everybody is aware, we have shortages with drugs and things like that. So it's kind of a give and take on what's available and all that. And so we're still working on that. As you know, we are, per the email that went out from Jacob Dodds, we have intended to set up final agreement for September 29th and 30th. Now, that could possibly change based upon how quickly we can get back our rigs and how quickly we can get in charge of it. So, but we're working diligently towards that. We have approval, we can be able to set our rigs out. The garage isn't done, we can shoreline them. And he said that'll work as long as the weather upholds. If it gets too cold or too hot, we'll bring our drugs and our supplies in, and therefore we keep them at room temperature. So let's see. We're continuing to purchase supplies, and that's out the Rose Building. Thank you very much for your hand in that. We're looking at stair chairs and monitors as we speak. I spoke to the auditor's office about leasing versus buying outright, and buying outright is probably going to be the best bet. We did get the approval for the Greater Jefferson County stuff, and as you know, I'll pass this around. We have an invite to an award ceremony in August, so y'all are welcome to attend. Please let me know. Brian plus whoever else can. Anyway, let's see. I spoke with AT&T FirstNet. about phones. And they're going to be getting with me later on this week, and they're going to come out and talk to me a little bit more about phones and some iPads. So, of course, I'm going to take that into account and also look at Verizon and US Cellular to compare everything. Today, search our GSA approval. We should be able to get our login and therefore look at what's available within the state and elsewhere, and we just have to go pick it up. So that could alleviate maybe some stair chairs and some cots and maybe an ambulance. Who knows?
So I've got a question
Got an
that's
answer.
pertinent
Yes.
for this, but I'm looking at Abby. Because I happen to think, because my name's on the insurance for the county, so every
Yes.
year we have to do an inventory. So can you let us know, is it over $1,000? Does he need to let you know what equipment's for insurance, or how's it work?
So for the actual asset list, it's anything over 5,000, or
Okay.
just the file, it's 1,000 to 4,900.
And that's for the GSA, correct?
It's for any piece of equipment.
Okay.
So every year we get from our insurer,
Yes.
they want to know every piece of equipment the county has. So I
Got it.
just thought before you get too much equipment, just start a list for Abby
Sure.
so that she knows.
Thank you.
And that usually
That's-
comes when in the fall, it's winter.
Insurance
Yeah,
is December,
yeah.
but the auditors will need information, they're coming in September.
Okay. And that's for
I'll be sending-
$1,000 or anything over $1,000?
I'll be sending an email here within a week or so asking for that information. But yes, 1,000 to 4,999 is just for the file. Anything over 5,000 will be turned into the auditors for our depreciation.
I'll be sure to get a small ambulance.
Well, I got a question on that. I appreciate that because I didn't think about that, but so like our heart monitors and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So does that mean then that, what does that mean? I mean, do they replace them if something happens to them? What does it mean? I mean, why are we insuring something if they're not going to do something with it?
I don't know about the 5,000 deal. I don't know what the insurance cap is. You'll have to talk to Joe
Okay.
Renz about that. I'm
Okay.
specifically talking about $5,000 for the auditors. It has to be depreciated out.
I just know every year we get a list
Right.
and my name's on it right now. And so then it gets circulated to all the
Right.
department heads, add any new equipment you've purchased.
Sure will.
It's a way of keeping the inventory up to date so that if
Understood.
there was some catastrophe or,
Your building, like we got a new server, so our building, our server would be recorded this year because we just got it. So if the building were to catch on fire, then it would be depreciated out with the date of purchase and the social, or the VIN number,
Right.
whatever's on it. So a way for them to track it, otherwise there's all this equipment, nobody knows. It's just like anything else that depreciates, but then if you have to claim, then you'll.
But on
See the
insurance, we don't have, I mean, it's buildings and,
Contents, like,
yeah, but I don't have a list of every single thing
Right.
that
Right.
right,
is in the building.
I still would, I think he's right, or Evans, or whichever one said it. I think you need to, among all the others you gotta do, we need to reach out to Joe
I will.
and ask him about the monitors and the stair chairs.
I will.
because let's say one of the medics drops, I mean, let's say they drop a monitor or something, that's not something that you're gonna absorb 100% within your department, so yeah.
Right. No, that's.
Yeah.
That's good
well, and the
advice.
other thing I
appreciate it.
think for the list for Abby would be computers, because they're probably over $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just thought it'd be easier for you now to start as you're
No,
accumulating things and
absolutely.
have to go back and, oh, what did we buy?
Right, it's better to do it now that we're not too far into this. We did get our certificate of pharmacy. We got approved for that, so that's hanging on the wall.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to thank Chris Essel. Her and I talked this past week about doing TB test and hepatitis B, stuff like that. So us in public health will work in consort for any of that coming up. So we appreciate.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Other than that, I believe that's everything. Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. The PED bags, our volunteer service has graciously agreed to purchase 2 at $2,000, I believe. Yeah, thank you. Got a lot of numbers, but they have agreed to purchase those, and so that's an additional $2,000 for us as well. So,
I wanted to
thank you again.
add to that my thank you. The
Yes.
money that we all raised, the appreciation picnic, we raised $1,000, and the emergency management services, EMS, applied that towards those PED bags. So
That's good information. Thank you.
Fully stocked everything.
Yes.
Stay in guard for our food, which they need it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
moving on, let's go back to the county ordinance work session since our county assistant attorney.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Oh, sure. Sorry I was late. So I think we need a work session to discuss the amending the ordinances. There are some that we need to discuss actually drafting because we don't already have it, such as, well, wind turbines, cell tower siting. I don't know, it might be a good time for us to include a procurement policy in our ordinances as well. I know that we drafted one that Sean used for his grant. We could think about adopting that one, or we could discuss if there are other concerns about the one that we already have the one that we already have drafted. In Pat's notes, he mentioned that there was some discussion about a responsible dog owner ordinance. And I can write all of these up. And I don't know when those discussions occurred and if it's something that you still want to consider.
Wasn't that a public health one a few years ago?
The dog, we talked about like, aggressive animal policy.
Okay.
The board did not vote that in, but then it was just like a blanket policy, so I'd have to look at that again.
Okay.
But I think it did come from public health.
That was right before I started.
Yeah, because we had dogs that were biting, killing other dogs. in the
Right.
County, there's no ordinance for that.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to touch base on that because it was in the notes. As far as amendments, I think that there was some discussion, I guess, about the nuisance ordinance, either expanding it or deleting it altogether. So that's something that needs to be discussed. There are 2 ordinances that the law firm Allers and Cooney drafted, and that was our lost ordinance and the urban renewal area ordinance. I know Pat was hoping that maybe we could discuss those ordinances with them, revisit, but that would be, a bill for the counties.
We did that urban renewal one, oh gosh, 2 or 3 years ago, because I actually saw it recently.
The question was, I guess, whether or not it should sunset. There was no sunset provision in there, but that might.
Well, I thought we were going to do that as kind of a bridge to developing an actual ordinance
Okay.
about that. And I think in the files over there, there's probably some information on it. That's up to the current board.
I just know that, and she's right, it was at a request for Josh Larrabee, and it hasn't been anything done, or, there hasn't been a peep about it since.
Well, the reason we did that is because that business was located in the county,
Okay.
not in the city.
Mhm.
And the city has some kind of checklist, so you might want to talk to John and see what they have in place.
You mean in terms of whether it would be incorporated at some
No.
point? No.
This has to do with taxes, so.
And there's no
It's-
financial the financial responsibility, that's all been taken care of, the bonds have been paid off, is my understanding.
Right, but it did cost some money to do that, whereas if we get an actual ordinance in place, every time a business that's located in the county would come to us and say, hey, I'm gonna put up a building of $50,000. Can I get some tax relief for 2 or 3 years? I mean, the thought of this board was that building's gonna be there for 30 or 50 years. If we can help them, you know, like in the case of, we did Bovard, they have 30 some employees and they keep hiring more. So I mean, it was money well spent.
Okay.
So that we could come up long-term with an actual policy about this rather than a piecemeal, which is what we have now.
So maybe it would be worthwhile talking to not only Josh Larrabee, but also
The city.
but also the law firm that drafted the ordinance.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So the city has on new construction, specifically commercial, not residential, but on new construction, they have a 3-year tax abatement.
And that's
Yeah.
an important clarification, Lee, because this is only commercial. It's not.
Only commercial, not residential, which the city has, right? Uh-huh.
And I mean, so inconsistent, I get where she's coming from. And I think, you know, if you have a policy, you're absolutely right, it has to be uniform. So for Susie, for you, for Joe, whomever it happens to be. The cleanest, I think, unless you guys come up with something right now, off the top of my head, the cleanest is just, instead of trying to determine a dollar amount, just like you say, 3-year tax abatement. And then that's going to vary depending upon the size of the entity. I would say Heartland Co-op as opposed to Acme.
$30,000 building.
Right.
But the point is, we want to encourage business within the county and help people because it's going to be their long term.
Okay.
So,
There are some others that will need to be amended, so I don't know. What I propose is I could put together for the work session, I could put together a list of ordinances that will be amended. And then I can also give you a draft of, I mean, the wind turbine ordinance, those can be quite lengthy. I found quite a few of them that I could, you know, create one and model after some other counties.
that has to do with decommissioning too.
That's part of
That's a
it.
big deal.
That's a big part of it. I think that's going to be important to discuss how much attention, you know, we'll want to put and how many resources we'll want to put to it, because the application and approval process can be quite lengthy too, but I can draft something and then you guys can.
Do we
discuss.
need anything on pipelines? And I know there's a lot of variable litigation going on in the state right now with these carbon pipelines.
Well,
Where one
the
judge
court
rules
ruled
one
that
way.
we can't shut them down. Now, we passed, or I'm sorry, I wasn't here, but I agree with it wholeheartedly. They sent a letter, a resolution, whatever you want to call it, opposing the use of eminent domain. And I think that they were well within their rights to do that. But I do know that the court just ruled here a week and a half ago that you cannot have ordinance to restrict pipeline. So I'm assuming they're saying that's left up to the state. But in this wind turbine thing and the decommissioning and stuff, and don't misunderstand folks that are out there in the stratosphere, are not against solar panels. But for example, right now there is some big issues going on in Eliza County because they're looking at putting in a solar farm that covers 5,500 acres. Yes. And so we have to be proactive here in developing or designing or creating or whatever, something to somehow or another have some jurisdictional control over that, while at the same time not penalizing our landowners. But for me personally, and I'm just speaking for me, I'm not speaking for the other two, it's very problematic for me to take 5,000 acres out of production. And so we have to, along with the subdivision ordinance and looking at corn suitability rating, I also think that has to come into play on some of these other things as well.
Solar ordinance is that what you're?
Well, I'm
Talking about?
looking at, I have mixed emotions here. I want Susie to be able to do with her land what she wants to do with her land. By the same token, if we're, I always tell folks, I always firmly believe this, once you pour concrete, you're never going to use that land for agriculture again. So when the city expands and they annex things in and we start pouring concrete, that farmland goes away. Well, kind of the same thing here. I don't know what it looks like when you're talking about 5,500 acres of solar panels, but I can't envision that that land would ever revert back to an agricultural use. And so in the development process, whether it's in the subdivision ordinance or where it's at, when we start developing things like that, I think it's incumbent upon us or whomever's sitting in these chairs to take a long, hard look at that. And one of the arbiters that we use for our subdivision is corn suitability rate. So if the land is better suited for agriculture as opposed to subdivision development, I think that that's something that we might be able to apply.
I hate to say the Z word, but I'm gonna say it. It sounds like zoning to me. I mean, is it? I don't know. Can we do an ordinance without, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't want to get into that discussion.
Right.
Versus the Z word, but
I mean, I think that you talk about doing things piecemeal. If you're gonna end up zoning, through osmosis, I guess. I'm
Well,
not,
this is a conversation, unfortunately, that we're fortunate, I guess, depending upon your perspective, that we have to have. I just know, and they have zoning in Louisa
Yeah.
County, and they're still having big arm wrestling contests over the size of it. And I know the state legislature this last session has taken a look at limiting the number of acres that can be used for those things. I just want us to be aware that this may be on the horizon along with these other things. Because frankly, where those wind turbines are going up there, that's some of the best farmland in Jefferson County up in the northern tier up there. And so whatever, I can't imagine the size of that footprint that those wind turbines are on, but I imagine it's pretty good sized base, but we're taking out of agricultural production.
so it sounds like, what's the procedure? We're gonna actually schedule a work session and start looking through some of these.
yeah, I hope so. That's what's on the agenda, is to schedule some kind of work session. I can create a list of ordinances that are gonna be amended. I don't know if I'll be able to get a hold or be able to have a conversation with Allers and Cooney beforehand. There's also there's some ordinances dealing with the airports. I think those will be quite technical as well. But I can do what I can. If we're going to be scheduling it this week, I'll do whatever I can in terms of drafting some potential ordinances and then finding out what these.
How about if we do the existing ordinances first? Wouldn't that make sense? And then we do any like wind or new
Yeah,
ones?
no,
I think we need to work on, because the existing ones, we need to update.
For sure. And
honestly, I'll be perfectly honest with you, that I'm probably the odd man out here. But right at this particular moment, my priority is that subdivision ordinance.
I know
Well, and that's an existing one.
that's an
And that's
existing
fine.
one. So we're just going to be amending it. And I think that actually there's just a really quick amendment to that one. Some of the amended
week.
ones, we're going to be waiting on conversations with others.
Right.
Do you want to start? I mean, this is going to be an ongoing process.
Sure.
It's not going to happen overnight. How
What
about
do you
next
think,
week
Sue?
sometime?
Because you're thinking.
Well, I think we have a meeting on the 31st of July, and we should put a special meeting for the ordinances on August 1st.
Okay, that's Tuesday.
Yeah, that,
You are so incredibly.
I
smart.
know. I don't.
Excuse me.
It amazes me.
Life gone.
You're not getting the thing past that, man.
That's,
what time?
I
30,
don't know
90?
how I do it. Yeah.
Available in the afternoon,
Okay, what time you have?
anytime in the afternoon.
What's any time?
We'll start one.
Starting at 1 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine.
Starting at 12:01. Susie.
Well, let's start at 12:01. Can we?
Or Tuesdays, I'll joke aside.
Whichever.
Tuesdays used to be your court day.
Yes, and I will be in magistrate court in the morning. That's what I'm saying, the afternoon. I'm
Okay.
available. Yeah.
How do I do it?
Hey, yeah.
So 1 p.m.
PM.
All right.
So I will get a list of ordinances to amend and as much information as I can get on those from all the interested parties. how I knew this.
It ends in white. Yeah.
Am I allowed to contact Allers and Cooney to discuss those two ordinances?
Yeah, those are development agreements.
Okay,
You should have
I
a
should,
copy
I
of
should
them.
have a copy of those.
If you don't, I've got. a
Okay.
copy of them. And the auditor's office should have a copy of them.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, I know that.
Okay.
We're gonna move over item 3 and 4 down to Matt from PCS. He's gonna give us an update.
Let me come over here.
Glad to see Chris too.
Yeah.
She smiles and I know it.
Not always,
Okay,
not always.
let's do the easy thing first.
Sure.
The server's been installed, the physical new server that you approved. He has been moving the data and he spent all day yesterday on Sunday, I know, but we have to do it because you can't really do it when you guys are here working. I don't know if it'll be finished this week or the following week, but we'll be working on the server part in the next 2 weeks. My understanding from Tara and Sean is that we got everybody moved to 0365 except for Susie because she wasn't here.
I think Lee and I did that the other day, didn't we?
Yeah, she
talked
talked
to-
to me and she didn't have any emails, so I called PCS
Okay.
and they worked with her.
Okay, so then Tara doesn't know. So I think we have everybody done for 0365.
Okay.
There's 2 questions before we get on the technical side. Who am I sending the bill to for the server? Because we actually, in our system, we put it under the supervisors because you guys are the ones that approved it, but I'm guessing the auditor's the one that pays it. Should I send the bill to the auditor or should I just send it to you and let you deal with it? For the server. Joe Ledger.
I'd say give it to the auditor's
I
office.
just say it, not realize.
We've already,
Because if it comes to us, we just give it to the auditor's office. So
Okay.
let's just,
All right.
If you want to copy, just CC so we know.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
I'll have them CC. And the same thing with the Office 365. And remember on the Office 365, there was an install to install it. I think it's around 4,000. I don't know if it's 42 or 4,000 or 46. I don't know. But it's something like that to install it.
Right.
And so you're aware it took us 55 hours to install it. It was, it always is this way because of Microsoft, but it was, you move all the data and then the last little bit goes, I'm not gonna let you do it. So then you have to start all over and it just took 4 hours to move it. So then you start all over. But anyway, that was all included as one price. And then the yearly fee, we're gonna start August 1st.
Okay.
Whatever that was, I honestly don't remember, but there's 40 some people, 40 some emails that have it. So one of the questions, again, because I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole here pretty quick. One of the questions is we need to do some training. I don't know if you want to do that to the department heads, if you want me and a tech to come to each individual department and just sit down and talk about how Office 365 works and what to look for and what to do. That's completely up to you, but we need to do that. And then when we do that, we'll also talk about emails and not clicking on bad emails. So however we want to organize that, you guys just,
Would it be a department thing? I don't know.
You don't think there's many differences, but there's some little differences that are.
yeah, there is.
so just out of curiosity's sake, bear with me here for a minute. What's on, and this may be too short a notice for you, but I just make my point. What's on the agenda for the department head meeting?
Jackson for that FMLA stuff.
okay. But how long will that take?
I don't know.
I'd like to meet only less an hour.
Okay,
I think
that's fine. I
you'll
just,
probably
but
need
that's
at
a really
least
good
2 or
idea.
3 different meetings to capture. I don't know. We have a few different.
Well, we can do it with different, like there's a couple departments only have 2 or 3 people, so it'd be nice to get
Yeah,
those 2 together, but like
Right.
public health, she's got 10, I think 10
We have more people, but we've got, yes,
10
6
different.
yeah, 6 different books.
Right, so we could just go over to public health and then maybe we can just set up, how about I email the department heads and then I'll just deal with it.
It
Deal with
seems
that
like
side of it.
Thank you, Matt.
if,
Yeah.
how many
You
computer
want
users
CC
do you
Joe
have,
on
Wayne?
that?
Yeah, Joe,
We have 3.
Yeah.
CC Joe on it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
being smart.
Oh, he's being smart.
It seems like maybe 2 or 3 meetings that you could just.
Yeah, yeah, and we're talking
set
about a
times and
half an
let
hour
people
of,
Go to whenever they
Right.
could, maybe.
and so I want to, so now we're gonna get into something that you're all gonna hate, especially,
Is this what I think it is
Yeah.
that I flew up the other day about?
What
Yeah.
is it?
Okay.
okay, so Office 365, just so we're all aware, is in a cloud. I don't even know how to explain a cloud to you, but Microsoft hosts it up in the atmosphere somewhere.
Is that like being in a fog?
And so all your email is in that cloud and is fully protected by Microsoft, which is probably one of the better protection people. And the other thing it gives you is every time there's a new version of Office, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook, and I think it comes with OneNote, but nobody uses that. Every time there's a new version, it'll ask you, do you want to upgrade to the new version? You say yes, and it just does it. That's what it's giving you. The reason we did this, and the reason why I'm here is because Brad, who owns PCS, our number one client, who he is the head IT for, is Steffes. I call him Steffies because I think it's funny. It's the auction group in Mount Pleasant. They have been bought out by a guy from Minnesota, and he owns 6 different auction groups. So he manages, I don't know, 13. The owner of PCS now manages them, and that's all he does. It's $150 million a year auction house. Insurance came to him about a month ago when we started doing this and installing your guys' stuff and said, you have to upgrade this, and we're not going to insure you. And you have to enable 2-factor authentication. The other thing the good thing for you also is the fact that you did this early, because we believe the next version that comes out, they're not going to let you buy Office. So you're going to have to do what you just did.
Yes.
So, but with the 2-factor authentication and what the insurance company did to him is they made him pay a little more money. And I think it's because it's a $150 million company, to verify to the insurance company that they have 2-factor authentication turned on. So he's spending $14,000 a month for Office 365. Okay, fine. You kind of grasp the concept, I hope. 2-factor authentication is that you have your laptop and your computer, and when you go to Outlook to check your email, there's a password to get in there. Most of the time, once you enter that password once, every time you log on, it just automatically works. 2-factor authentication is there because if somebody hacks into your computer, they have your email. So what it does is the laptop's sitting here and it sends, there's 2 ways that this works. And you are going to have to do this. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, we already do it for other programs,
Okay.
but we don't want to do it on our phones.
Okay,
So,
so this is gonna get to the problem. I'm sure, and I knew that, I didn't know this at the time we did this, but this is the problem. So when we first set the turn 2-factor authentication on, what it does is it gives you 14 days, and it does it 2 ways. One, it'll send you a text message to a phone, and it'll have a 6-digit code, and you enter the 6-digit code into your computer, and now it's authorized, and it knows that you're the person that's using that. The other way is there's an app, and the app is Microsoft Authenticator is what it's called. And when you go to log in, or when you go to first install it, the Authenticator app will pop up and say, are you the person who's wanting to get into this? And all you do is you click OK. Those are the only 2 ways to do it. There's no reason to put an authenticator. We went round and round and round with this with another company, and Brad said, this is what PCS is doing. Whatever you guys want to do is what you guys want to do. Doesn't matter to us. I'm just here to tell you what PCS is recommending. If we put the authenticator app on the laptop that you're using, it's pointless. It's not two-factor because somebody hacks into your computer, they have your email. If somebody's trying to hack into Microsoft, which happens all the time. In fact, last week we had a customer who had two-factor authentication turned on. And at 3 a.m, he got woke up by a beep on his phone and it said, "Are you trying to log into your computer?" And he clicked like a dumbass, "Yes." And they hacked into his computer and hacked into his email. Brad has 160 employees. 4 of them don't use the app on the phone. The others all use the app because it's literally, yes, I'm trying to get in here and it's telling me I've got to get approved. And so you just click OK. You can set this to one time. So we turn it on and you do a one-time thing and it's just on. If somebody else tries to hack in, from somewhere else, some idiot, wherever, it's going to ask you, it's going to try to authenticate some way, but it won't continually ask you. Brad says we should recommend that you authenticate every 14 days at the least. He has been forced to authenticate every day they go to work and they log into their computer. They have to authenticate their email because email is what people want. Because once you get in the email, you can get into anything. So PCS is recommending that you do this every 14 days. I had told them all, and I got into a big fight. He's my brother-in-law and an asshole. But I got into a big fight with him and said, this is a government group, and they're not going to want to use their personal cell phones to be able to authenticate.
Our concern was during it, we authenticate for different programs all the time. We have different ways to access different programs at the state. My concern was during an emergency, we have to be able to get on our computers, and if the cell towers are down and we can't get an authenticator, that was my issue.
Right.
We do double step all the time for different things, but in an emergency, I can't depend that I'm going to get able to get into my computer because of my cell phone.
So let me tell you what you can't do, because I tried to get them. This was the other questions I was asking them, because the state's going to make you have a backup plan
I know,
if you want to work,
I know.
because emergency happens or whatever. Now, public health's got to be able to do public health. So I said, well, why can't we each department just buy a little $200, not an iPad, but a tablet, and it's in the office. And then when you want to authenticate, you can authenticate to the tablet. He said, no, there's no way that's going to work, because somebody's going to click on something that they think needs to be authenticated, and or if somebody's at home working, they can't authenticate it.
Right. Or in a meeting or whatever.
Right. So there's multiple ways you can set it up. We could set it up to where it goes to a cell phone, and you either get the text message or use the app. We could also set it up, if that doesn't go through, you could click, I want to use a landline and call. So then it would call the landline, you'd pick it up, and it'd say 678-923, 678-92, and it would repeat it until you enter it in. So what I've been told to do, because I'm the messenger, is that PCS recommends that you do it at least every 14 days. So
To do what?
So you get on your laptop and you already authenticated it. So the first time PCS is going to help you do that. And now your email is working.
For 14 days.
For 14 days. On the 14th day, it's going to send another code.
Right.
Again, one of two ways, either the 6-digit code or use the app and just hit OK. And then it'll work for another 14 days.
Matt, I've got a question.
Uh,
Could this be a department-specific thing so that each department could decide how they want to authenticate? Because some might want to use personal phones
and
and
yes,
some might not.
and I already I already knew this was gonna be the question, and so I said to Brad, what do you want me to do when that comes up? He said, PCS doesn't care, but we are gonna write up something that says, you sign that says, we explained to you what we thought you should do. This is important. Now, Brad said in a year, 2 years at the latest, you're gonna be forced to do something.
I thought we were gonna be forced now.
Well, I don't know if you're, all insurance companies aren't, some, but they're moving that way. And this is a lot more secure, because instead of one password, now you have two. And in the last 3 years, PCS has seen 7, 8 people get hacked into. One company in Alby they stole $160,000 right out of their savings account. This is a real thing now. And it's a real thing in small town Iowa
Right.
that is happening.
No, I think it's something our insurance company wants us to do sooner than later.
Right.
And I think we need to, but
So,
saying, can we do this on a department? Because one department might say, the employees might say, yeah, I'd be glad to use my own phone, and others might say, no, I want to be landline or whatever.
Hey, Matt, I just have a question. Like, we use a system for the state
Mhm.
and we have an authenticator that we have, it's for ICE, the disease surveillance system. So we have a username, a password, and then we have to click on this icon that's been downloaded
Mhm.
that gives us a number
Yeah,
to authenticate.
Right.
You click on it, and then if you get logged out or whatever, it's only a one-time use.
right.
So that authenticator that's downloaded on our laptop, that would still work. My concern is, again, it goes, is there something like that? But my concern is if the phones are down and I cannot access a code to get logged into my stuff in an emergency, that is problematic, not just for me, but for Brad, for anybody that's in
Right.
essential services. That's the issue. I'm trying to prevent another issue. I don't have a problem with two-step authentication.
Right.
I just am concerned that it's on the cell phone.
And so I think
That's my
I
concern.
would have to double check to make sure of this.
Mhm.
But I think what I'm saying is you can have it go to a cell phone, plus you can have it call. So let's say you forgot your cell phone at home, it'll pop and set up in 14 days and say you got to authenticate, but you left your cell phone at home and you say, call me, and it calls the number dedicated.
Right, and
But that's gonna cause issues.
because we have more than one line that goes in and out of the health
And
department. we don't know which
and how
one
do
it
you
is.
know who's asking to be
I know.
authenticated?
I know,
I went round and round with Brad and I went round and round with my employees. And of course, nobody else, we have 15 other people that have this set up already. They're all like dummies and just said, oh yeah, let's turn it on and be done with it.
no, I get it, I'm just trying to, plus, these are all our personal cell phones that we're using for work. That is not, we don't get compensated for that,
Right.
it's our personal cell phone, so.
text that comes?
Yes,
It
it's a text
can
number.
be two ways. It can be sent as a text with the 6-digit code or on your cell phone, which Brad says is his employees have railed and railed about getting the text message. I hate this. And so he told them, download the authenticator app. So now you go and you have an app and it literally says, are you trying to log into your computer? Yes, I am. And you click one button and it just automatically does it. So there's two ways to do it.
Facebook did this a while back.
Yeah.
Two-step.
So the problem with cell
Matt?
phones is when you have cell phone loss, coverage
Yeah.
loss, it's normally two things, your cell data, so you can't get internet, you can't log, and voice, which you can usually text most,
Yeah.
around here, statistics show that you usually can send text out, receive text, just the other two. Cell phone data is the fourth one.
That
You have
happened
no
just the
internet.
other day, just last week, I lost cell phone service, but I still had text. But my question is, not to be a horse's pursuit. Cannot your cell phone be hacked?
Yeah, it can, but again, it's not gonna be hacked, so here's the problem with getting a text message. You want a text message and you want the 6-digit code, you got 30 seconds. Oh, well, like you're saying, the cell phone signal sucks today, and it took 45 seconds for the text to come through. Now you enter and it won't enter, so you have to say retry. Well, now you got another 30 seconds for the new code. So no, it's very difficult to hack that side of it.
Elizabeth, don't leave. I got one other question.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right.
So the other question I have is, and I know that we use our cell phones. I personally do not. It's just, I get enough stuff on my cell phone that I don't need. But I question whether or not the legal aspect of having access through our personal cell phones to computers.
Well, that's what started my argument with
Right.
Brad was,
If I get unelected, okay, and somebody logs into my computer, what used to be my computer, and I get this notice on my phone, like, what the hell is this? No, I'm not elected. And I just,
yeah, I'm not worried about that, because once you're unelected, your 0365 will no longer be in use. It'll be, we'll shut it off. As soon as somebody says, this person's gone, it'll be turned off. We can do that administratively like that.
so then when the new person comes on, you're gonna turn it back on.
Turn it on to their email address, not to your, see, this is all associated with
Okay.
individual emails. So if somebody leaves, as long as we're informed, we can shut them off in a matter of 30 seconds.
I mean, I could do some research, but I think this is really standard. I've had to do this for other jobs. I had to do it when I was in school. I mean, it's kind of taking over, so I don't.
No, I don't get my county email on my phone, so.
Well, and you
And
don't
you
have to
won't
have your email on the phone. All it's gonna do is gonna be used like a friend who's texting you, or you use the app. And she's right. Private, all the 15 people we deal with, there's 2 that are counties, but like Brad's business, they pay for everybody's cell phone. So it's their personal cell phone, but the company reimburses them for it. You guys obviously don't do that, don't want to do that. So that was my argument of,
Well, I know
The
I go
gray
through
area.
a lot of this, what you call two-factor, whatever, when I go, because I pay a lot of my
yeah,
car payment, my RV,
Yeah, yeah,
payment, all that
Online
online.
banking,
Yeah.
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 And they send me these numbers all the time.
yeah.
Now, I don't have a lot of faith in Microsoft, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at the screen and it's going, Outlook is not responding, like I don't know that. So
So-
I don't know what you guys think.
All I can tell you is from what our personal opinion is, and I would appreciate it, not that you have to do this, that you made a rule and that we followed it for everybody.
So what I,
Because it's gonna be way more difficult for PCS to manage if public health's doing one thing and then somebody else is doing another, and these people over here, and the likelihood of you getting hacked goes up exponentially if you don't have this.
so
I like
what you
14
want us
days.
to decide is the 2-factor.
Well, yes, I need to know, because you guys are all moved. So now we have to go into each account, and we have to push a button that says turn 2-factor on.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna ask us, do you want them to do this every day? Do you want us to do it every 14 days? Do you want them just to do it once? Once is a misnomer, because you do it once and you're logged in, but if somebody's trying to hack you, it's going to send you a text. Are you trying to log into your computer? And again, like the guy was telling you at 3 a.m, you just say, no, I'm in bed.
Yeah.
So that.
And if I don't answer at all, they can't get in,
Right.
because I'm not going.
I don't know if they can all get situated in 14 days. Once you hit the button, dude. Like, you're not gonna implement it right this second like Gus. We're in a holding pattern right now. Right, to see what you guys are doing.
So
Right.
our recommendation, or Brad's recommendation, the owner of PCS, is to turn it on and to do it every 14
14
days.
days, so that's what we need to act on.
Yeah, that's what I would like you to act on. And if you wanted the departments to be able to be different, that's totally your choice.
Yes.
I'm asking you as the manager to let's make it all the same, because it'll be easy.
So I'm hearing 2 things. One's every 14 days, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty clear. The other is the manner in which it's done.
Yeah, and that-
We don't need to decide.
you don't
that,
need
but
to
we could
decide
say
that.
Could be department.
Because that could be,
specific.
she might want the text message, but somebody else in her office might want the app,
Right,
because
And
it's
what's the
easier.
name of the app?
so the
It's
individual could
Microsoft
decide.
Authenticator.
And I did get it on my my phone.
Yeah, if you
Sean
already
helped
have
me,
it, yeah.
And it was a challenge for both of us, but together we figured it out. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to install.
It's not, no, we will come, let me back up. We will come if people want the Authenticator app, we will come and help, we will come here and physically help.
I ended up
Shannon
having
and I
to use,
had to do it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Some of them may be turned on because the way the Office 365 is, it's in the background and depending upon how it got set up, it may have got clicked on.
Yeah, it was a little problem for our staff,
Yeah.
for Tammy, but
Can you use a different authenticator app? I know that there are
Yes.
some you can like link to different
Yeah,
accounts. and-
we,
okay.
again, PCS is trying to make it, because we've gotten into this with other people where they're using an authenticator app that we don't know how to use, and then we can't help them when they call and complain. And so we have 3 that we use, but we've decided, I decided and told Brad, we're going to say we're using this one. If you want our support, we're using Microsoft Authenticator because it's the easiest and our techs know, we already use it, so we know how to set it up and know how to.
one more question. So if we say the departments can decide which method of authentication, does everybody in the department have to use the same method or can they choose individually?
They can choose whether they want the text or the app.
Individually.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And like so as advice, Brad has 160 employees. He started out with about 30 who downloaded the Authenticator app. And then they started getting these text messages because they have to do it every day. And one by one, people started going, this is a pain in the butt. And Brad said, well, the app is easier. I don't want the app. I don't want the app. They're down to 4 people that don't have the app because the app is easier. Because it literally asks you a question and you say yes or no.
Now I'm gonna ask you another question.
Yeah.
If I download the app, which I agree with you, on the service, it sounds easier, okay, because of the 30-second time. limit,
Right.
whatever. Now, am I gonna have to use that damn thing on everything I do on my phone?
No. It's only tied to
Where's the
what
customer?
you can use it for other things, but the Microsoft Authenticator app, you can't use like Google for it or Facebook for it. It's all specific to whoever's manufacturing the product.
And then it would just somehow go tied to this.
Yeah, what's gonna happen is in 14, let's say we get you registered, in 14 days, it's gonna pop up and you're gonna click on Outlook and it's gonna go, we need you to authenticate. And it'll ask you, do you want to do this? And you say yes. It'll send it to the app and you say, okay, and then it'll just automatically let
But I
you.
mean, there's a setup. Once I download the app, there's a.
We will come set that up for you.
I've got the app, so you just click it
yeah, that was a struggle.
and then
Yes,
it'll have a
and it is,
message.
and
if
it's
you
a
want to.
Microsoft struggle. That's why I told the techs, they were,
She was on the phone for a long time.
What?
I said, we're not doing this today.
yeah, one of them sent me a help guide and I'm like,
It was no help.
I'm not doing this. And you guys already paid to install this and do all this. So we will come to Fairfield and we will help, whether it's one department at a time, or if we could schedule 2 or 3 at a time, great. But we will come and do it for you. So that he doesn't have, because I know he's
I don't
like.
go ahead.
So just to clarify, though, there's no like app that we can download on our computers, like Win authorization, like we currently use for the disease surveillance. So it's already on my computer and be 2-step on my computer and not have to deal with this.
Okay, yes, you can use Win Authenticator app on your computer. As far as what I'm telling you, and what Brad wanted to be
You're just
very,
using
very, very
Microsoft.
clear, that's not 2-factor authentication, and it's not.
Well, it's like 3 things that we have to do. No, I mean something like that to put on our computer, not,
No, we could, the problem is the major authenticator apps do not have on the computer.
got it.
So your app is tied, that app that you're using, you're talking about is tied to a phone number.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's tied to
so,
the office.
right. And so
it's tied to the office for security reasons, and
Right.
2 other things that we have to do, 3 other
Yes.
things we have to do.
You can do that with a third-party app, and we may be able to get it to work with the app you're using. If you want to do that, that's
I'll talk to
fine.
this tax staff.
That's fine if you want to
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
But we PCS, when something is signed
Okay.
by somebody, whether it's the lawyer or the board, that says, we did not recommend this and we don't want to be responsible if you get hacked. Because that's, because the
I get it,
yeah, it's not 2-factor. That's the
Got it.
problem.
got it.
And that's what I argue, that's what started the argument, is I'm like, put it on the freaking computer, it'd be way easier for everybody. He's like, there's no reason, just don't turn it on. Just leave it off. There's no reason to have it on there if you're gonna leave it on the computer. And he's right.
Got it.
Once I understood the complexity of the whole thing, he's right.
Did you tell him that he was right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
Does this go for everybody that's got Jefferson County email?
Mhm.
It's the first I've heard of it, because emergency management uses Jefferson County Iowa email.
Oh, I don't, did we move you to 360? Yeah, so I don't think you're part of it.
Okay.
It's the 40 people that have, what's the email address, Jeff?
Jefferson County.
JeffersonCountyIA.com.
Do you have that email?
That's Jefferson CO.
Then it doesn't apply to you.
I just have all my emails.
And remember, the reason this is important is not because of your apps, it's because this is hosting your email now.
Right.
You used to host your email on the server in the courthouse, and now it's hosted by Microsoft.
So,
But ours is, and we're not on that email, because we purchased all that. We don't have the same email as these guys do,
Oh, you don't? But we moved,
because we purchased.
and we could move you too. And but I don't know how you're with the who, which department?
Emergency management. So my office at the law center, so I'm there to point, I'm connected to it.
Yeah, so, no, we're not gonna move you.
what's that?
The law center, like the Tumwa's emergency management,
Yes, I'm good.
yeah, he's different, but the law
Sam,
stuff
we
is
spent
just,
all this
So
money
the,
and did all this stuff and went into the cloud to protect us. And now we gotta do all this stuff because we did all of this stuff and we're in the cloud and we're not protected.
Clouds move.
But that's
yeah,
true,
good point.
yeah.
So
I
the
remember
law
very
center
clearly
separate from
asking
what
the
we're talking
question.
about?
yeah, the law center is not, we did not move any law center. And I talked about that during the meeting, because the state is so,
Okay, yeah.
they're just, it's so complicated.
So for training purposes, it would be the people in this building, public health, conservation, and
Rooms.
secondary roads.
Yes.
So,
And what I would suggest is if you set up the two, if you agree that we need to turn it on and we need to have it every 14 days, I'll just set up times to where we come loaded on everybody's, and then we'll train the same day.
Okay.
That would be the easiest.
right. I mean, I personally think this is something we need to do sooner than later.
And then the last
Writings on the wall.
question that I have to have answered, you guys can, if you
We're a
want to,
church preview.
if you want to talk about the 14-day thing, that's fine. But the thing I need to answer is I need to send you the bill. And I think, are you from the auditor?
Abby.
Okay, maybe you're the one that was talking to Tara about separating it out.
She called Friday.
Yeah.
And I talked to her on the phone, and she also talked to Darcy.
And so she's wanting to know, can we send one bill, or do you want each department paying for their part? So what's gonna happen is in a year, when the bill's gonna change in a year, because you're gonna either add employees or take them away or whatever, we're gonna have to reevaluate the price. And we can sure bill you per department. That makes it a little tougher on our end to do that, but we can, it's what you guys want.
The way I don't know what she talked to Darcy about, but what her and I talked about is if we got a bill and it was broken out by department, just one big bill though, and then
Okay.
we can code it or send it to the departments and get all the right lines.
Okay, so one big bill, but let it be known what each
Like
department,
4 in the auditor's
Yeah, yeah.
office, 3 in the recorder's office,
Okay.
etc.
Didn't
okay.
I pay for this amount already when our managed service stuff?
Did you pay for it?
I
No,
did $3,800 is what for managed service, but that was different than this, right?
that's different.
Okay, just making sure.
This has all been approved by these guys and they were moving,
Just checking.
yeah.
Just asking for clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I can do that. What, do you want to vote on the 14-day thing? You want to think about it?
So what I'm hearing that PCS wants us to do is have authentication every 14 days and the departments could decide the method of authentication. Does that cover what you need?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
guess.
No.
Okay, so I'll start this week contacting people and figuring out when we can come.
And if you could do it over 2 or 3 different days in case
Yeah.
somebody's,
Yeah, we,
Can I just clarify something though? I did not know, I thought that was some, as a department head, I didn't realize that expense was gonna be passed on to my department. I thought that's something that you guys as a whole, it was gonna come out of the supervisor's line item to update this 365.
that's what my
That's what I
understanding
thought from
was.
the couple meetings that we had,
Yeah,
that it
no,
was
we
gonna
covered
come
that.
out of you guys as, okay, so.
He's
so-
talking about something entirely.
No,
No.
he's
you're talking about the monthly bill, aren't you?
No, he was talking, because it's a one-time annual fee right now for Office 365. It was my understanding from the department head meetings that you guys as a board were gonna pay for Office 365 and Huntress, which is
Yes.
yeah, so,
And Huntress is running on everybody's,
So-
you don't know it is, but it
but,
is
but the
running.
question I think you just asked was, you're gonna send one bill, you were asking for clarification, if you're gonna send one bill and they were gonna pay for it, or if the
I
auditor was
think that
gonna
was on the
divvy it out.
authentication thing, isn't it?
That's
That's
what,
part of Office 365.
that's part of the Office 365. It's
Yeah.
all one lump thing.
Yeah.
So let's just say the bill's 8,000. I don't know what it is for 40 users or whatever that is.
Right.
It includes Office with the apps, your email, and the 2-factor authentication. So it includes those 3 things.
Okay.
Now, when my understanding, which I could be wrong, you guys decided that you were gonna pay that out of
Yeah,
your
that's what I
general
thought.
budget
That's-
for everybody.
That's what I remember the first time, I mean.
Yeah.
That is,
That's what you're talking about.
yes, that is a yearly bill.
Yeah, so then next year, then we would be responsible for that.
Next
but
year, we'll figure that out.
Yes, but
budget time.
initially for this year,
Yeah.
that you guys were gonna pay for it.
Yes.
All right. Abby, do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, okay, I just wanna make sure, because I'm like.
And I think Huntress
minutes.
was the same way.
Yeah,
You were paying
Yeah,
for
it was.
Huntress.
Yeah.
And Huntress is all, you guys don't know it, but it's all loaded and we get errors and we get the
So-
messages and.
So when we work on our budgets in November, December, January, then we'll have the amount that each department should be responsible for their FY 25 budget.
Right.
can I ask you a question since
clarifying.
you're here?
Mhm.
So last week I got like a DocuSign, and usually if I get a DocuSign, it's from like one committee that I'm chair of, and they'll give me a heads up, hey, I'm sending you a
Switching.
DocuSign. So if I get a DocuSign and I don't know who it's from, I mean, like I didn't even ignore it. Should I ignore it?
I would, you can click on the email name,
I did, and I didn't recognize it.
then
so
I would
didn't
not click on
it.
anything.
Okay.
So once you click on that email name, what it'll usually do is it'll say matt@pcsia.com. But when you click on it, then it'll say, I'm gonna screw you in the hind end.com.
Well, this one
And
at least was in the US, it wasn't from a foreign country.
It says external.
Say what?
Everything comes up on this now says external. I have no idea who the hell it's
It
coming
means from it's outside of the county.
from. Huh?
It means it's from outside of the county.
Yeah.
I get that, but I don't know who it's from.
The only way you can really know who it's from is
If you
click on the name. No, click on the name
On what name?
of from. So it'll say your email address and it'll say who it came from.
Really.
That's my problem. I'm not seeing that.
If you can't see that, then you shouldn't
I don't
click on
think
it.
it means it's from outside the county,
No, I get that.
because when Dwayne sent me an email, it says external.
Yeah, mine says external, because it's not coming from my department on our server. So
Oh,
mine
yeah,
say
because you would be
external.
external, because you
So
don't
like
have
if I
county.
get an email from Susie, it's not going to say it,
It shouldn't, I wouldn't think.
because we have the same, whatever, domain.
Domain, yeah.
But if I get one from you, it
See,
says it,
right here.
because we're not on the same line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to pay for it this year.
just one.
He's
So
doing
that's coming
technical assistance at the moment.
From trainings at Learn GRC. So it's just delete. Don't even, whenever you have something come from somebody, you can click on their name, like that's Mark Myers.
Right.
You can verify that that's actually Mark Myers.
Yeah.
And that's some of the training we need to do too. So that everybody's doing it the same way. Okay. I will contact, do you need anything else from me?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. very much.
I don't
Appreciate it.
think there was anything else I needed to,
Matt, thank you.
yeah,
This year.
good to see you.
So
Thanks.
you're
Get out
gonna
of trouble, man.
Yeah, right.
reach out to us about days, then I take it?
Yeah, I'll reach out to the department heads, I'll reach out to you guys,
Yeah.
and we'll try to organize how we come, and then we can,
So
I'll come up with a PowerPoint or something simple that we can say, this is what you're gonna do, and this is what you need to do, and how it works, and we'll show you how it works, and
essentially, the next step is Matt's gonna let us know.
yes, I will let you know. And I want it done, because I want it off my brain, because I hate it. Yeah,
Thanks, Matt.
yeah, thanks, you guys.
Moving on, or back in this case. Discuss and consider approving the liquor license for Bus Events LLC, DBA Iowa Beer Bus.
I will make a motion to approve this. We got an email that Bart says he doesn't have a problem.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider approving outstanding claims.
Is it?
Mhm.
I'll make health updates after that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were leaving me off, Susie, because you don't want me to talk.
No, you know something, but let's make a note. We need lens cleaner.
Sorry.
Discussing, wait, where am I at? Discuss, consider approving outstanding claims list and move money into auditor's account.
I think this has already been done.
Yeah,
I need a dollar amount.
You
It's
do.
on your email.
well,
Number
Mark,
4 in your packet.
I would like to, honestly, would like to know how we arrived at that dollar figure.
That would be a good explanation.
But I, in response to Susie's request,
that's email.
yeah, I mean, I've got it right here. But I will make a motion to approve moving money into the auditor's account in the amount of $131,256.56.
I could go grab the auditor if you would like, so we can.
Well, the auditor, that's not the
It's
point.
the treasurer.
Sure.
But I assume that there was some math that arrived at that number.
We could ask him to come in.
Yeah.
Would you like?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, would you go ask
And what
Mark?
she's
Mark.
doing. And
Yes.
what she's doing. that.
I will. Will
And
that repent from
hey,
this?
go very slow because we have to do
Oh,
something.
that too.
Don't hurry.
Not as bad as it was in Texas.
Susie, I've been asleep.
He'll be here shortly.
Computers yet.
What? No, what do you mean by sleep?
Heck, I went to sleep back here.
You're supposed to keep him awake.
That's why I said far.
There you go.
It was just Ooh, do they make vinyl prods that are longer? They do.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
They make them 4 feet long
So what do you have?
and baked beans. Brisket,
So would you go?
Fat Jimmy's, Montrose.
Oh, I tried to go there last year and that was the one that we came on vacation.
Yeah, I took a picture of my plate.
I want to go there. Sometimes to do those.
That was my plate. They give gender solutions.
So, yeah, you and your wife just watched it.
So Marianne wasn't with us.
She wasn't.
It was good brisket. She's in Branson. My son-in-law's birthday yesterday, so they took me out Saturday night. Well, yeah, they did. Sarah, that's when she takes me along. It's Marianne's great card. She wants not mine. So we started there out Hamilton's close for the nation. We're on that Fat Jimmy's.
Yeah, I had a rack.
They've been open 6 years.
That was really good.
It was good. It was good. So, and we've been down there. If you ever go, you gotta go in the restaurant. In the men's, they've taken a keg and made a urinal out of it.
Yeah, I have it
And
for
they
a while.
took a,
It was 2 years. I mean, I've been riding street
what
bikes
the
since
heck
the
was the other?
80s.
Oh, it was a
Some
whiskey
things were
barrel
fun of
that made a sing out of it.
I summoned him,
So I
so
don't know what they done in
I
the
don't know.
women's restroom. I didn't go in there, but I could see a couch. So I don't know what else they had.
Hey, do we have a radio station?
Oh, he's back.
We do have an AM station.
Really?
I did request Mark to come over, so like, I don't know. Sure you're in.
Well, thank you.
I heard you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was he busy?
I asked Cody, so I didn't step all the way in. I said, Mark, please come to the supervisor meeting.
Here,
So in an effort to move right along, and I know Chris will be windy.
No,
So-
it's condensed. I have bullet. points.
Okay, go for it then, Chris.
All right, so I'll give you guys an update and
Thank you.
yeah, officially an update. So first, I want to share with you guys some data points. Oh, there he is. I'll move.
Have a seat.
Hey, Mark, thank you.
We have some questions about how you came to that amount.
Okay.
131,256.56.
Okay.
Just for the good of the order, as Chris would say, just
Heard that somewhere.
makes me slap myself.
That's the number that was still outstanding.
Okay.
That was verified by Darcy. So we made the
Okay.
deposit.
When you say still outstanding, is this accumulated or was this the number way back when and it just?
It's accumulated.
Huh?
It had accumulated.
Okay. And accumulated, I apologize for being confused, but is there a mechanism now in place that we won't do this again?
Mhm.
Okay,
I think that's why we're giving the dollar amount.
right.
we
Right.
appreciate your work on this.
So now the amount that you guys approve is the exact same amount that the auditor's office has, that the auditor's office gives to me. So all three, plus county people kind of need to know how much we're spending. I think.
Right, no, I get that, I just,
Yeah.
okay, I just was. I just wanted, I mean, you answered the question, I just wasn't sure how we arrived at that number. You know, like, was it something that happened when you said back when?
A long time ago.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, my question, so we've been sitting on this number for, well, you said it's been accumulating, but. I mean, this is.
We've been riding on a cushion and the cushion's gone.
Okay,
So now we fixed it.
okay.
And thank you for fixing that. And thank you,
Thank
Darcy.
you.
Darcy too. Yeah.
I know,
Wasn't just me.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
good job.
Thanks for working together with those.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Now we have to listen to. the public questions.
You don't have to. You can, I can remove myself from the agenda. I don't have a problem
No.
with that.
Okay. You guys good?
Take care. Thank you.
Okay. So I haven't given you guys an
Abby's got a question.
Did you vote on that? Because I got a
No.
motion from him, but I didn't catch anything else.
I'll make a second. We need to vote.
I know, but I thought we did. Okay, let's do it again. You made the motion, you
Yes, you want me to
seconded it.
read it again, or do you have it in the minutes?
I have it.
Okay.
You just didn't vote on it.
Okay,
Oh,
All those in favor?
aye, thank you.
right, I think that's.
Starting to get complex.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I can come back anytime or not at all. Joe, I'll give you my copy when I get done with this. I attended a
Oh, yes.
meeting on Friday for administrators, looking at succession training and succession planning. This was one of the documents I pulled this out of the PowerPoint that we received on Friday. So that's just to give you guys a look at the average age of administrators, the turnover, and what public health is going to be looking like workforce in the next, few years. So you can give mine to Joe. So that way you have an idea how much turnover and attrition there is and projections and where we're at with that. In the next several years, Burdett's region, which is region 5, which is my region, there's going to be a significant number of administrators retiring. So the other thing I want to give you guys, the Board of Health was given their packet. This was in their packet on. Oh, gee, I don't know if I can get you that far. This is just the nurse reports. Now I can send you electronically all of Mandy's CCNC reports. There's a ton of them. I can send that to you. I was not going to print that all off because she's, they're doing child care nurse consultant services for 2 different areas. I mean, I'm happy to send that to you if you want to see it, but it's a lot of information. I wanted to tell you that the Board of Health adopted the community health assessment. Now what I have to do is work with, there's a few stakeholder groups that I want to work with to complete the health improvement plan process. I did it a little different this year. I wanted the board to have input on the community health assessment, and then we've come up with then we'll come up with the goals and objectives for the health improvement plan process. So that's due to the state November 17th. Lee and Joe attended the alignment process Zoom meeting on Thursday. It was pretty quiet. I mean, basically they just did introductions, and then they wanted feedback from like the 19 service organizations that are under the umbrella of Health and Human Services, of which one is public health. I think I said I worked with all those entities except maybe 2. So, and that's just because we don't have those services in our county. They were just getting feedback and a lot of information on, what works good, what doesn't work well, some areas of improvement. And I asked several questions and gave a lot of input because it was pretty quiet to start with, and somebody always has to start. But I did ask the facilitator of the meeting what evidence-based tool the state is using or this company is using to gather the data and to make that improvement process. And I was a little disheartened when she said, we're not using an evidence-based tool. We don't have a specific tool. I said, are you using like Lean?
Right.
What process are you using? And she said, well, we've never done something like this big before. She said, we're going to use Lean-like processes. So I am very disappointed that the state is spending all this money and not utilizing an actual evidence-based quality improvement tool or process tool. I don't know if you guys want to say something. You guys were both on the Zoom with me, and thank you for attending. And 2 of my team members were there.
Well, Joe, you want? So as a general rule,
You were quiet.
I was not impressed. I mean, I think we all had the same theme. I asked Chris right up front desk, well, I made the statement that, rural Iowa always takes it upside the head, and that one size does not fit all. I don't care what you try to do. What works for Polk County or Scott County will not work for Jefferson County, Iowa, period, end of discussion. I think that the general consensus from everybody that spoke in one form or another agreed with that concept. And of course, I think most of the people that were on there were from small venues. I agree with Chris wholeheartedly. I don't see this working. I think it's ridiculous that you got a company out of New York that is doing this. And I don't think anybody would disagree that there needs to be improvements and tweaks and changes. But I don't know why you don't go with the providers and have those conversations rather than bringing somebody out
Right.
that's probably couldn't find their way here.
You can add that to
Begin
your
with.
list for the legislation.
Well, that's, so,
Standard practice.
I mean, that's
Exactly.
crazy that they didn't use an evidence-based tool.
I
There's
was
so many
shocked.
out there for quality improvement.
And Lee is one of the best ones. I used to be a lean instructor when I worked at the
Yeah.
hospital.
Oh, I've
It's
taken
so
that.
great. I mean, it's a great process because you ask you look at it from up here, bird's eye view, then you go to the people that do that job or that
Exactly.
task, and they're gonna tell you what works and what you need to work around. So I was very disappointed. The one thing that I think, I've been saying for years, when Dr. Miller Meeks was the physician and the director of the Iowa Department of Public Health, we have a trauma level system in place in Iowa that works 1 through 4. Every ER in Iowa is a level 4 until you can prove you're a 3, a 2, or a 1. There's 2 level 1 trauma centers in Iowa. And I think that health departments could mirror that. Everybody's a level 4 health department until you offer different services. I also made the comment about competitive funding versus guaranteed funding from grants. You cannot be expected to be a community partner and work collaboratively together for different things like emergency preparedness and then be a competition for funding.
I like that concept about the two
I've been,
things.
yeah, I've been
too.
saying
That's
it
a
for
good idea.
years, and it wouldn't cost a significant amount of money. I've said this to my state partners, I've said it to elected officials.
And that'd be easier for
she's-
budgeting. It's like if you're a level
Yeah.
4.
This is,
In this
this is
range.
guaranteed funding from your
Yeah.
supervisor.
I was to say to Chris's point, once again, rural Iowa cannot compete for funding with the larger venues. We just can't do it because I don't know what the criteria is.
Right,
But when you look at it and you have this set of criteria, well, all of these larger venues can meet all of those criterias or participate in all of those things. And A, we may not need it, or B, we can't achieve it, not because we don't have the capability as far as the individuals.
We may not have the providers for it.
Well, that's it. It's not unlike the mental health issue with no bed space and no psychiatrists. Then none of that was ever addressed. And I firmly believe that you're going to end up, and this is what we said, did we not? We said, using mental health as a stick, a barometer. The reality of it is the state's going to come in here today, and what'd she say, 25 or 26 before you would even see?
yes.
And now you and I both know
So do
that
they
between
plan to
now
go to
and
state?
then, 2 years down the
No, they don't
road,
know yet what they're doing.
the legislature
So
likely is going to change. Everything about this is going to change. And so we've spent all of this money, done all of this, that we can't possibly implement for at least 2 to 3 years. And think that the dynamic is not going to change in that time frame.
Right. The other thing, I mean, we are used to doing grant services, so we're used to following the deliverables of said grant, and the reporting and all of that mechanism. That's not new to us. The issue becomes if the state is going to mandate regionalization, then we all need to become state employees, and that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're not going to have us be.
They're not going to do that.
I can't see how they can afford it when you look at what the salaries of the mental health regions just implemented. I mean, because I can't, even when I was in Washington County, it's so different and they're a contiguous county. It's so different. So it's not just the service delivery, it's organizational structure, it's local boards of health, it's supervisors and the funding mechanism. It's so complex and convoluted that I'm in it every day and don't
Well,
understand everything.
It's all going to change with funding, with the changes of legislature.
I know,
too.
that was
That's gonna
actually-
affect everybody.
That was brought up. We
What
brought
do you say
that up.
about that?
Well, just how it's going to impact health departments. It's going to
Everybody.
impact all departmental funding. The EMS situation is not unique to Jefferson County. Other departments that didn't think it was, or counties that didn't think EMS was going to impact them is now starting to impact them as well. So it's very convoluted. Basically, it was, a gripe session, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I tried to have solutions though, not just complain.
It'll be
you know.
interesting to see what that company
Yeah.
comes back.
I was very disappointed in that statement though, when they did not have a tool in place. So I mean, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, on the one level, it appears that state funding, if the state funded it, that the funding would be uniform, and it may very well be. The downside of that, from my perspective, is that now, once again, we've chipped away at local control.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
right. And people in Des Moines don't know what it's like in local Fairfield. So anyway, if you have any other questions about that, believe me, I've talked to people. I try to come up with something. I want to let you guys know that COVID vaccines are going to be moving to the private sector. We just placed our last order. We've been ordering COVID vaccine for the private pharmacy summit because they're not in the pharmacy agreement and the health center. So that was the last order. So that's going to be changing.
Have they made any changes now?
Yeah, there's new stuff coming out. So we'll share all that when it gets here. School vaccine for children clinics. We're doing all day clinics on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of August. We worked with our student. We got the website up and going with Kevin's help. Thank God. You guys are going to see a claim come through next week in your pile of claims for a taillight lens for tailgate party. A claim for a taillight lens in our work car because the dumpster got blown into the car during that wind a few weeks ago. It was like $400. We went with the cheapest quote, but anyway, I called Connolly's and they were going to tighten the wheels on our dumpster because it just blew into it.
Can they also use that steel post and the chain?
They won't do that. They won't chain it. They never chained it. So I asked
would
for
suggest
dumpster.
you park your cars maybe at the other end of the park.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I asked for a dumpster with no wheels and they said, we'll tighten the wheels. So we'll see if it gets tightened. So now I have, Brett is here today. You want to come to the table? Come up here. I want to talk about our active shooter armed intruder tabletop phase 2, which will be, are you really not coming up here with me? Which will be August 3rd. I'll be sending out an invitation later this week. I sent out like a reminder, but it's going to be at the health center on August 3rd from 8:30 to 10:30. And then we'll have the after action plan, the hot wash after action. We'll write that up and then we'll have phase 3 then in November. So I'd like for you guys to all try to attend. Because this scenario is going to be a little different. Stacy and I worked on some things last week. I told Brett what we did because we're going to have actual victim cards. So we have scenarios and we won't break up into tabletop or to groups. It'll be more of a classroom style learning for this exercise. So it'll be more like a big group discussion at the hospital, at the health center. Yeah.
Next week.
The 3rd, yeah, which I'm going to send out a flyer.
Probably put that on the agenda.
It's Thursday is next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please allow extra time for travel.
Start at JCHC, what time?
8:30 to 10:30. Yeah. Go ahead, Brett. Tell them what we're going to do. No, we don't want to divulge anything. So we're going to grow on the first one. This will be the second one, and then we're going to have the 3rd one then in November with the goal being mass casualty.
So the goals of these tabletops move in 3 parts in the preparedness is to get as many community partners involved with 1 or 2 or 3 exercises. So you move into different, your first time's a little bit different scenario, and then you get more involved with casualties and injuries and maybe more law enforcement than you moving on, you get into the funeral homes and, so you're covering a whole bunch of different partners in the community, preparing for real life if it does happen, if that makes any sense. That's kind of what a tabletop is, except this one's been expanded.
Yeah, we've never done a 3-part tabletop. This is new for all of us because we wanted to make sure that we were able to break it down from this part of the scenario to this moving theoretical patients. We're really not moving anybody, but you're going to have victim scenarios that we have to walk through. And then, the end will be a mass casualty event because Brett and Stacy and I took a mass casualty training in Washington, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And if something tragic were to happen, we focus on taking care of the injured people that are alive and need treatment. But then if you do have a mass casualty event, there's so many things that go into place with that. And it's a very difficult discussion to have, and nobody wants to think about that, but we have to think about all levels of preparedness in our county. I couldn't do my job without this part of my job without Brett and Stacy and Shelley. So I appreciate their help.
Brett, did the county do something like this countywide 8-10 years ago?
We've done.
We did live active shooter.
We did it at the high school.
No, that involved the whole county of mass casualty, like so many students from high school volunteered to do something. Everybody had their role.
We did,
And
we did. It was
remember that?
where Brett was in his role, yes.
He was from high school probably.
The Jerry Cowell.
Well, 10 years ago, I would have been.
Well, I mean,
It was
with the
quite a
one
while.
The ones
with,
I remember were the tornado mass casualty. That was a citywide.
Maybe that
And
was
then we
it.
did the high school.
oh yeah, you were here. You were here.
Yeah.
The tornado was, you were, and then we did one other one, I think.
And Brett, I wasn't sure about the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day's a
I know.
holiday.
I
You
don't
said
get
you
it.
in high school, okay.
That was, how many training meetings did we have, or planning sessions did we have, Brett?
For which one?
School.
About a year.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah, too many. That's why they don't really do complete full-scale exercise.
We did a Bach.
Well, it was tabletop.
Yeah.
Functional tabletop. I will say on the preparedness side, Des Moines County is doing a Amtrak Railroad exercise up in August, and I will be attending as a
Oh,
hopefully player in that one. And I haven't sent the information to you, but you know, railways are what will be next on our
Good.
agenda for an
I have
exercise.
some locations you can use
In town, out of town?
out of town. I mean, seriously, the visibility is not good.
Yeah.
Do the railroads, I'm not being facetious here, do the railroads attend those?
Mhm.
Will they come?
Well,
They-
depends on what the scenario is, but I can talk more about that.
Okay.
So I guess since Brett and I are both here in this capacity, which I'm really glad he joined me today, because I'm always throwing him under the bus. No pun intended. I know there was some discussion at the last department head meeting, and then things just kind of got, I don't know. Are we moving forward with that de-escalation with Bart? I know Bart was here and then he left, so I don't know what the expectation was, I guess.
Well, we talked about, we
You
left
for
it
sure?
kind of what you guys
Yeah.
want to do, if you want to do a complete courthouse or you want to do individual. You want to have a scenario or something, we had this conversation,
Mhm.
right? And, law enforcement obviously would lead that, but we could facilitate it, just get it going. So
Yeah.
we have a date.
Yeah.
Start that whole conversation.
Yeah, we don't have to know
I
what.
think, yeah, we need to. I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know, you're probably the best judge of how long and how to break it up.
Well, I think you would need a little initial training, and you could do it. In a couple hours.
Probably, yeah,
So we did that with part of that was what we did for Julie.
right.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It absolutely was.
but focus on, here.
Right.
That office, those offices. You have a whole different,
Absolutely.
they're gonna have different options in the time that it actually happens.
Let's see, another,
You guys are.
yeah. The other thing, right quick, because Brett helps, he serves in the safety committee capacity as well. I think the safety committee's been doing a great job. Elizabeth is reviewing hopefully the final stages of the safety handbook, because there were still a couple things she needed to double check on, but that's been a long process. It seems like we just want to get it off our plate, just kind of like Matt, he's like, we gotta get this done.
So I got an email about a new NeoGov thing to take and then
Yeah.
that was retracted. So is that, that happen every?
Well,
day?
I don't know. The safety committee had 5 things that we wanted everybody to take. So I don't know if somebody got enrolled in something by mistake. Melissa does that. Melissa sends those things out. So it might have went a duplicate. I don't do that. It might have enrolled somebody in the wrong class and then they pulled it back. I don't know. I was out of the office most of Friday and didn't look. So, yeah. I don't know. We try to meet the greater needs of everyone, and there's not a one size fits all with preparedness, because there's not one disaster that's going to impact everybody the same way.
That's one of the things happening.
It's a busy time right now.
Can we answer anything else for you guys?
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
We saved the best for last, Brett.
What's that?
Us.
I didn't have any idea I was doing this, so. I'll come in, I'll put on the update on emergency management for the next couple months.
Whole blind side.
No, not really.
I've got a lot of stuff going on.
Thanks for offering to bring treats to the department head meeting.
I don't think I did. I had a budget cut. I think that's up to you guys.
Brad, I hope we'll get that, hopefully we'll get that address today for Dan Walker out there.
Oh, I did another one on Friday.
Or did you? Did you send it to me?
I just did it myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, moving on again. Make committee reports. I had a Simco meeting yesterday on Wednesday. We barely had enough for a quorum. There's a lot going on up there with some of the board members, which I cannot comment on, but they're quite concerned and are looking very closely at the budget to make sure we don't pay too much for the surcharge and stuff like that. in the fuel.
Don't pay too much.
Surcharge
Oh,
on
okay.
on fuel.
Okay.
Other than that, it's compared to 15 years ago, that's a really clean place up there.
Yeah.
Very clean, very well taken care of. I was also at the three-legged milk stool meeting for D the other day, which was on the edge of my seat.
I bet.
Yeah.
I got the minutes, sounds like it was pretty routine.
Yeah.
And then I find it interesting, 2 days later, I got notified that number 52 ambulance didn't have a fridge, so I sent that on to Tom and Julie, and the Esslers had to order the part, and it's scheduled to be repaired on July 28th. They have put a refrigerator cooler in the meantime.
I was just concerned. We wanted to get it when we got
Yeah.
it. But we,
Yes.
Um,
And I'm sure they didn't know about it when I filled in for
On
D last
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I
I'm sure they
know.
didn't know
I
about it.
thought that was, so thank you. I have been working with OCIO, which is the broadband, yeah. To try to get an update on what Natel, now Liberty, is doing, because when we entered into that agreement, it was, they would give us an update. So I thought, I want to know what the state has received from them. So we've had 2 or 3 conversations last week, and he's going to get back to me. He's finding information.
Oh, I think that's it.
Oh, I'm on that one. It's like, come on, you guys, because what I see happening, we have a big donut hole like that, not the donut hole, but the analogy. So we have good coverage in Batavia from the farmers
Yep.
co-op, and they're doing some things in Libertyville. Seems like the northwest part of the county and up to the top and
Wayland.
like almost down to Salina, Farmville's doing some stuff. Of course, Lisco has this area covered really well, and they're doing a few things. And then, who's the other one? Oh, Windstream's actually doing some stuff east of town. I see them because when I see them digging, I stop, but they're not hitting all the spots. So I called the guy at the state and I said, so here's what I see going on. They're covering the edges of the county. Of course, Fairfield's covered, but there's like 4 to 8 miles in the center, and it goes around, because I know people like south on Highway 1 that don't have service for internet, not a decent provider. And it just, and he said, yeah, you're right, because he pulled up the map and we looked at it together. So I'm like, can you see, the challenge with this is all these money goes to the providers. It doesn't, so they have to want to provide. So this next round of funding that we all got a notification on has more incentives to do those spots that are still left. So that's why I thought it'd be helpful to get some information and an update of currently of what's going on.
They're running lines all the way along 34
That's Windstream.
on Glasgow, all the way.
And Boulevard,
Mhm.
they're all the way down that road.
Is
Yeah.
that Windstream too?
It does say Windstream on their trucks.
No, I just stopped and asked them. I said, hey, what are you guys doing? And,
I think between us and several other grants or whatever, plus the new money coming for broadband, in a year, we better be really covered in this county.
So hopefully more to come on that. And then just last week, got an email on September, I think it's 18th, there's gonna be a meeting in Des Moines for supervisors, ISAC sponsoring it, and auditors to learn about what's gonna happen with our budget next year.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if Scott plans to go to that, or Shannon, somebody from your office needs to go to that. Did you find out? Yes.
We're on camera, I'd make a motion.
No, I'm serious, please.
I mean, it's not me.
No, I know it's not you, but, and then, I mean, I'll look, I haven't looked that far, I haven't seen it at home, but I really think it's the first attempt to educate us about the changes.
I wish they were. Didn't say that.
The changes are this fall we're going to be entering.
You're not wrong there. So first of the week, I had early childhood. And
Was Estelle there?
No,
No.
I don't attend those
she
meetings.
goes to DCAT.
Oh.
So that's later on. However, I will say, I told you the last meeting was a record. This one was even shorter. But Tammy did inform us to be prepared for next month because it was going to be extremely long. So I don't know. Anyway, the talk of the town was the meeting that we had at Public Health where all the spots were full. So they were going to have more meetings. And then it turned out of the 300 spots that were available, we had 190.
We had 197.
197 attendance, so 100 spots were, who knows? Anyway, and then I had a Rust Board meeting. And that was really pretty straightforward, nothing earth shattering there. Did KMCD with Connor, actually, although there was no radio station working.
You mean Connor, ever wrong?
Yeah.
Ever right to you?
Yeah, we had a long conversation. And then there's been a question come up with a constituent, and I know that this has been an issue in the past. And I really want to talk to you two and to Joe, because you live out in the county. And I'm trying to understand why our trustees, Brett, our constituents pay our trustees, or our trustees levy for fire protection. And then our folks get billed when they use it. And I know that's not fair and you weren't prepared for that, but
I got a fair answer. I mean, the city of Fairfield, the fire department, city of Fairfield makes that designation of how that's billed. I can get, and I know probably who you're talking about because they called me several times.
well, and it's happened in the past. And my question is, when we provide police protection for Vedic City, we charge them on a per capita basis, and we don't charge them when our law enforcement goes out there because they pay for that protection. Go ahead.
When I was first elected, I got that question and I called Scott at that time on. And he said that the same thing, the city decides a fee, and I think at that time it had just been raised to $500, but I agree, I get calls too. It's like, why do I pay this on my levy, and then if I use it, I get billed too?
And my question is, do Packwood and Batavia do the same thing? You don't know, or no? They don't. And it seems honestly disingenuous to me. From that perspective, it's almost as if, well, Joe, your deductible will cover it, so we're going to charge the $500.
But that is interesting that the others don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming anybody. I just,
Yeah,
Well, that's good because we as fire department, when we go.
No,
on
I
call,
get that.
We fill out a report like we do, like an ambulance, where
Right.
that gets handed off, and then those fees are outside of our, the fire department.
Sure.
Doesn't bill us directly.
no, I know you don't. But
So,
I know in talking to Joe McClarney several years ago, when Heartland Co-op was going to build, he had some major concerns that the cost for fire protection to the township was going to go up exponentially because of the risk associated with potentially with the elevator. But we're still, so if anybody on the city is listening, I'm
I
not
don't
so sure
think
we
there
should
is
put it on the
anybody,
agenda and ask the city to come and talk to us about it.
I think that's a great
They
idea.
do have a council meeting tonight, just saying.
Well, but I'm not on the agenda.
You can just still go and talk to them.
Well, I think I would rather they come and talk to us.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So with your
It
permission.
is our question, yes.
Huh?
It is our question.
Yeah. And I'm not finding fault with anybody. It just seems to me that you're paying for it.
Right, and the reason is by law, the townships have to provide fire coverage. So that's why every township has to contract with the fire department, because every township's not gonna have their own fire department.
Right.
So as you're more aware than I am, Brighton covers a huge section. And Lock Ridge, what, Libertyville,
Yeah, you have several in this county, Birmingham, Stockport, Header covers a little bit, Richland, Packwood.
And I know the ones that around Fairfield, because I'm in Buchanan, we're at our max levy of, and there is a max levy of what we can be charged.
And I think that's 67 cents if I remember, but, and I know you guys do mutual aid and you help each other out through, I get that. It just seems to me that I think that we have responsibility to ask the question. Because we're paying for, well,
And then the other question, if we have somebody come, and this goes back, I know originally your job was like, or not yours, but
Oh,
Scott's
you
with
did one time.
50%, Fairfield's, and then it changed. I mean, it seems like just to get a reality of should Fairfield be paying part of your salary or not? I mean, I don't know.
For
As
what?
Fire chief, I mean, because does that take away from your emergency time, management time?
No, we've had this conversation, and hopefully that's not what I'm here for.
no,
No, I'm
I was
just
a-
asking.
I was a captain and an assistant chief for 9 years, and I'm responding the same way I did then.
Okay.
You know, I think this is just an initial conversation we
Yeah,
didn't know we were
just
gonna
asking.
have.
no,
So you contact them, see if.
I have
you
some
can-
thoughts about the fire, but I'm not.
no, I don't want you, I'm not throwing you under the bus. But I would like to have the conversation because our constituents are paying for fire protection, just like they pay for police protection. And so.
I had a combine fire 3-4 years ago. Packwood responded. And I asked Jeremy Atwood at the time if I was gonna get billed. He says, no, we don't bill. Well, then later on, I wrote him a check, give him a contribution, because they're always wanting money for supplies and stuff. So I just wrote him a check up there.
I think that's what most people would do. Like I said,
Yeah.
you know, if we respond and mutual aid with, if Fairfield responds, if Fairfield's fire department responds and mutual aid with Packwood's, Packwood's jurisdiction, there's no bill there.
It'd be just nice to know the,
Go by force
yeah,
Good question.
for the outcomes.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you do that, it's-
are you done with this, Chris?
I'm just getting prepared to exit the building.
I thought maybe you were gonna stay for lunch.
No.
Next item is to allow claims and approve
We
reports.
need a total amount so that we can. Pass these.
Yeah. Why did,
Maybe see. Bye, you guys. Thanks.
Chris, it was really nice visiting with you.
Hey, thanks. See you guys.
Like Elvis Christmas.
Is leaving the building.
Oh, and good, she took Connor.
You know, Brett, Fairfield bills. If
Wait,
it-
wait, wait, did you guys adjourn?
No, not
No.
yet.
All right, I'll wait.
Lee, the moment we adjourn, shut that off.
We're coming up with an amount for the
No, yeah,
minutes.
that's fine.
Do
I think
we-
it's the two figures together. isn't it?
That's what I thought. So we need a total. So it'd be 40,000 plus 123.
No,
Where's that? Because those are different accounts in here.
See, Abby ran out of fingernail polish.
I just
She
sold
hasn't
it.
taken her shoes off yet. So it's-
No, they're both included.
Okay, so it'd be a total of 120, whatever it is. We'll make a motion to approve. 125,527.15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 No, no, no.